what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to another edition of The Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the young prodigy, lifetime Longhorn C.J. Vogel, and, of course, our own coach, former high school football coach at Vernon, Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan. Also played college football at Abilene Christian, coached there as well, and was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head football coaches. Now you can catch his work at ShipleyRanches.com. It is our own head coach, Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, doing good. Missed you last week. CJ did a great intro. He could remember maybe 2 schools, and I'm like,
3.
3, yeah. Hey, loving this weather, man. Digging this weather. We paid the price for it last week, and now we get to enjoy, baby.
Hey, man, this is a beautiful thing.
I mean, looking for another coach. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah,
not
Coach
all
is
good, but hey, it could be. You never know.
Nah, you're right about that, Coach. It is, we're not short on topics to discuss. It seems like we're talking about a head coaching vacancy, a coaching vacancy on the 40 acres every other week here, and we're talking about another one. The latest news, Coach just referenced Terry Joseph moving on to become the DB's coach with the New Orleans Saints, so hometown Saints for him. So I'm sure that's holds a sentimental place in his heart. But we have to talk about the business of the Longhorns replacing Terry Joseph as the pass game coordinator on defense and the secondary coach overall. So we'll get to that, of course, coming up here in the show. Of course, that will be our main topic of conversation. We'll also get to combine conversation because my man CJ is going to be boots on the ground there in Indianapolis. He's going to the combine. We'll talk about the 14 Longhorns who are going to be representing the Burnt Orange there at the combine this year, and talk about which one of those guys can increase their draft stock the most, improve their draft stock the most. But of course, your questions, comments, whatever you want to talk about, that's where you'll drive the show. You can interrupt the show at any time. Super chats jump to the front of the line. So we'll get to all of those as you throw them out there. All right, gentlemen, let's get to the main topic. All right, at hand here. And Coach, you just mentioned Terry Joseph. Congratulations, by the way, in order for him, because he's taking a job in the NFL, going to become the DB's coach with the New Orleans Saints. And CJ, it's crazy. We just talked about the finalized coaching staff last week. Now we're talking about another change. This is kind of for Texas, this is the first world problems, right? This is for Texas. Your coaching staff is a coaching staff that others want to replicate. They want to emulate. So you're getting a lot of coaches that are being poached. That's a good thing, but also it means that you got to replace those guys and keep the standard pretty high.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I always look back at one of the quotes that you had where you want your exes to do well, right? Because that means you're doing well. And that might not be the case in coaching per se, but you always want to see your coaches that leave you go for higher jobs, right?
Yeah.
NFL jobs. We've seen it this now with Terry Joseph going to the Saints, Tashard Choice going to the Lions, or Blake Gideon taking the job as the defensive coordinator, a step up from safeties coach at Texas. That means they're doing something right. And when you see that on the field, of course, you're going to see more of it as your program continues to win. But it's always a positive in my eyes that you continue to see coaches take higher jobs elsewhere than where they were here. Obviously, you'd love to see them in Austin, but this is the downside of winning, if you will. So congrats to Coach Joseph. Congrats to Coach Choice making the bumps up to the NFL. Coach Gideon becoming the play caller on the defense side of the ball for Georgia Tech. I mean, that's all big bumps right there. So really cool for them. For Sarkisian, we've talked about it. He likes to go about his position coaching searches in his own way, right? We've been through this several times now. Sometimes there's a clear-cut number one guy where they go out and say, yeah, hey, Johnny Nansen, we got a spot for you. And it's just that easy. Or other times you hear about a guy like a Kenny Baker or Chris Jackson, you're like, who are they? Yeah. And then they get to campus and they light it on fire. So I'm excited to see what a Mark Orfade does, what a Chad Scott does, and who he might pursue for a safeties coach. That's going to be interesting because we had a lot of names thrown at us for that first go-around. And then they obviously bumped up Kenoto Hudson, who I don't think anybody really was familiar with, from an analyst role to be the Nichols coach. So they're all about finding guys with specific ties to territorial recruiting, but also guys that have been around the block and know how to develop a cat or two. So I'm excited for it because, of course, it always just kind of teaches me a little bit more about Sarkisian and his ties across the country. Because so far, and again, I don't know if y'all could hear that, but I'm knocking on wood, right? So far, we've not seen a hire from Sarkisian go awry, and that's a great sign.
Yep. No, I agree with that. You got to trust the man at this point, coach, when it comes to replacing coaches and hiring coaches. He's done a great job with the chemistry, the continuity, and the culture, considering all those things. Guys checking a ton of boxes. And as CJ mentioned, they're not always household names. They're not always guys who are the big popular splash hires. They definitely are the right hires. What are your thoughts, Coach, about Coach Joseph? I mean, I'm sure you have a relationship. Maybe know Coach Joseph. What are your thoughts about him, number one, as a coach, and moving on to the Saints, and then what Sark will be looking for in a replacement?
Yeah, well, I think it's great for him. I mean, I agree with everything CJ said. Right on the money, man. And we're seeing what we thought we might see at some point, and that is Sark having to do his best, Nick Saban impression, because it happens to Saban, and yet every year he continued to roll with great hires, and it's just the price you pay for success, and it's a great thing. The good thing about it is we haven't had to face something that Nick Saban faced, and that is like an assistant leaving for a head job and taking assistants with him, like Kyle Flood, for example. A lot of people would consider that a lateral move for Kyle Flood. We haven't seen that. We've seen guys that have definitely taken steps up in their career. They've earned that. And, with success comes, improvement for these guys in their lives and in their career. And again, Sark has left us no reason to doubt that he will find a successful replacement.
Yeah, no, like I said, at this point, you got to give the man the benefit of the doubt. No matter who he hires, even if it's somebody you know or somebody we don't know. And I'm kind of siding with CJ here. I don't know if it'll be a household name or a splash hire. Every time this happens, we throw out those big names, and very rarely. I think Johnny Manson was one of the ones, and Tashard Choice maybe one of the ones they threw out there that actually happened. Brendan Marion, I threw that one out there, and that actually happened. That was more of a splash hire, but he could go either way. I think he can go splash, well-known commodity here, or he could go with an up-and-comer. And I think it matters to him, getting back to Coach's point, the continuity does matter. So, like I said, I think it mattered to him when he chose his coordinators, because PK is a great coordinator and one of the best defensive minds in college football, and just doesn't seem like, Coach, when you hear him talk, that he has any aspirations of being a head coach. He seems like this. He seems like actually I don't know. It's almost awkward sometimes. Like he wants people to know that is not something that he aspires to right now, at least right now. And that's for Sark. I'm sure that he considered that in hiring PK, because that brings you a lot more continuity on your staff, and he's the offensive play caller. So yes, he has a coordinator, but Kyle Flood has been a head coach, and probably seems like he doesn't really aspire to do either. So at the top of the hierarchy, you're very, very stable. What's happening now is all your assistant coaches, because you're doing so well as a program, like Coach says, that's the price of success. I think he's going to try to go after coaches, and kind of some of the names we've heard, Mark Orfe being one of them too. I mean, Chad Scott, guys that may stick around. Guys,
are we going to throw the Dwayne Akina in there again?
I've been throwing it out there, Coach, forever. I can say, yeah, we should, but I think we've done it like 2 or 3 times, and I don't know if it ever works out. I'd say bring back Akina, but his age a reason he wouldn't be considered. What is Coach Akina? 60. 60s. He's in mid to late 60s, right, Coach Ship?
Yeah, probably late 60s. I think he's older than me. I'm 64. So
okay, there you go.
Yeah, Bobby Burton put on Texas Football earlier. He's like, look, he's not, 68 years old. He's 68 years young, and I thought that was a great way to put it. Right?
That describes him.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think that would be interesting. You don't normally see, and we haven't seen it yet, right? With Sarkisian going out and adding coach. The older side of the coaching era, right? He's gone for the kind of those up and coming young guys. But I think with this staff, if you got some guys like a Kenoto Hudson, when you got a guy like Mark Orfe, who are on that younger side of 35, 40, it's not a bad idea to offset that with Rod, a guy that you've played for that, kind of brings that hard nose but high intensity, approach to the game. It might be a good offset, but we'll see. Of course, we've talked about Akina's name every time that there's been an opening in the secondary, and so far, nothing's gone that direction so far.
Yeah, and I think balance is important too. You're right about the young guys in that secondary now. We Kenyoto Hudson and Mark Orfe. So I say it every time, and I still believe it in my heart. Coach Aquino will be a great hire in the secondary, but we'll see if he goes that way. We know there are a lot of connections. There's a Nancy connection, the Texas connection. So there'll be somebody on that coaching staff, coach, that'll be advocating or bring up his name. We know that. We just don't know if that's the direction that Sark is going to go in. All right. Thank you for that, CB. We appreciate it. All right. Let's get to our very special guest we have on Mondays. I'm sure he wants to talk about the latest coaching vacancy on the 40 acres. He is my former teammate, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, joining us right now. Thank you, Stevie. We appreciate it. Courtesy of our good friends at Hardgrove Roofing, hardgroveroofing.com. You can reach out to them today. We appreciate our friends at Hardgrove Roofing for not only being the sponsors of the show, but hoping our man Stevie Lee come on as well and talk ball with us. You can see their number right there on the screen, 512-645-3202. Know who's on your roof with our friends at Hardgrove Roofing. And right now, they're offering a free roof inspection. So if you reach out to them today, and they have offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas, you may get a free roof inspection, courtesy of our good friends at hardgroveroofing.com. All right. Thank you, Hardgrove Roofing. And thank you, Stevie, for coming on the show. How was your weekend?
Oh, everything was great, man. How are you guys doing?
What's up, Stevie?
Well, y'all was breaking news to me. I didn't know that Coach was leaving.
Yeah,
he's gone. Gone, baby, gone.
Well, okay, so it's sad because we're losing great coaches, but it's good for me because I made a bet with a friend.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if y'all know Jermaine Cooper. He ran track at Texas when we were there. He was a great hurdler at the University of Texas. We become really, really good friends. And I said, because we're so good, we're going to lose. This was the bet. Because we're so good, we're going to lose 2.5 coaches.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So I got my third one today.
Well done. Oh, yeah. Well done. Well done.
No, we bet a bottle of bourbon on it.
Yeah. So when did you make that bet? When?
I made that bet actually before the Ohio State game.
Wow. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah. I knew it, man. I mean, it comes with the success. Y'all said it. These guys getting looked at by everyone. I also know that because I've become friends with some of the staff, that there are some other ones that was getting poached as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that some contracts were renegotiated through all of that. So it is what it is. It's the great success that we've had over 2 years, and these guys are putting in the work, and these other universities and NFL are looking at this and seeing like that there's a culture in Austin that we want to emulate, and they're trying to coach it, so.
Yeah, no, that's you're right about that. And I get this one actually kind of connected to you too, because Terry Joseph's Louisiana.
Right, yeah, man.
Yeah, and I don't even know if are you a Saints fan? Did you grow up in Louisiana? Are you a New Orleans Saints fan?
I really wasn't a fan of any team. As a kid, I was a fan of the 49ers for some reason, but I just like, when I started playing football at the University of Texas, I just wanted my guys to do well. When you went to Detroit, when other people went other places, man, I just wanted all my guys to be well and do well. I didn't care about the team. I cared about the players.
Yep. I feel you on that. Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, let me ask you this, since man, you're a lucky man. You got any other betting, anything on your heart that you think?
No, I'm actually, I'm about to put my order in, tell him which bourbon I want, man. So I'm actually pretty happy about that. I was about to go buy his because I thought that the coaching carousel was over, and then I turn it on right now, and y'all told me this, and I look it up, and I was like, oh, I won.
Give yourself some credit. I like that.
Right.
Stevie, do you remember your because do you pay attention to the combine? Are you gonna watch the combine with all the guys there? You say you root for our guys. You're gonna watch it.
Yeah. And that's another thing, man. It's so cool that we got 14 guys going. Mm-hmm. We got 14 guys going to the combine, and years past, there were some that we didn't have any, And so that's always fun. I actually contemplating on going to the combine. There's with networking with my real estate business and things like that, there's some networking opportunities for me to be there with the conference group that I'm with, the sports and entertainment group. So I actually contemplated going, but it's I'm kind of buying into my girls right now. I'm pouring into my girls right now. So it was going to take a little bit of time away from that, but it's going to be fun to see all of our guys up there doing well. I'm hoping that they're training right now, training well. I love to see them training around the Austin area. I keep up with them on Instagram and things like that. So I think it's going to be fun for the University of Texas, and I hope everyone do well, stay healthy, and get drafted high, man. And it's fun to watch the progression of the success that we've had, over the last 2-3 years of being successful on the field, and then our coaches being poached, and then our players are also getting bigger and better looks, and like everyone in the NFL is seeing the culture that's at the University of Texas, and they really want to put that on their teams, which is cool.
Steve, you say you watched the combine. I know Texas got a couple defensive linemen out there again this year.
Mm-hmm.
For folks who are going to be watching Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, seeing how Barron Sorrell do, what are the more, I guess, valuable drills that these NFL scouts will be watching? And can you throw out maybe a drill or two that you're just like, hey, get it out of the combine? I don't know if it's the 40, because it's
the 40.
Yeah.
Damn 40, man. No big man need the 40 anymore like that, man.
But you'll never have to run it again. The great thing about the combine
man.
Is you'll never have to run it again.
It's like, why are we testing my 40 speed when my job is 20 to 20, like 20 yards. That's my job, man. Give me on a 20-yard shuttle. I'll do that all day. I love seeing the hands drills from the defensive tackles, though. I love that. I love seeing hands. If you want to test a defensive tackle's agilities, it's shuttles. What is that? Is that a 15-yard shuttle that they do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they call it. Yeah. That's what able to change directions when you're running after a running back or a quarterback. Mm-hmm. There's no straight line 40 on the field that I need to run as a defensive tackle. You know what I'm saying? If I ran you down as a running back, there's a problem that you at running back, So
the 40 is a show. No, it's a show. It's a show for
it's just a show. But these dudes are training really, really hard for that 40 right now. And you can do much more training, better training, positional training than trying to train for this 40-yard dash. Yeah. Like it makes no sense. It should be the shiny pants guy is what Coach Tyler used to say. The shiny pants guy is the DBs, the receivers, and the running backs. And I guess the linebackers need to do it. But, it doesn't need to be a huge emphasis on the linebackers doing it, So that's me.
No. I talked to I was actually talking to Jeremy Hill about this. And Jeremy, Jay Hill's, trains players for the collective. And his big take was the 5, to your point, the 5-10-5 should replace the 40. It translates much more accurately to NFL success or football success in terms of change.
He said that?
Than the 40. Yeah, I remember him. I
should be a world-class trainer then. I just came up with that.
But to your point, though, the change direction, that kind of stuff matters. But I'm with you, though. These days, this is how you know that the 40 is a bit of a fraud. It's a fugazi. They have, and coaches talked about this, every major college football program, they have these catapult systems or these, really advanced, like, body metric systems that can analytically tell your heart rate and how fast you're running all the time. And they literally can accurately be able to determine how fast someone's running in football pads, in game, real situations. Like they have that technology now. And the NFL has the technology. And the NFL, as Coach said, when they go to the schools, they want to know, like, hey, how fast does this guy run? What is he? He clocked at 22 miles per hour. You got that? I said, so they actually now have real-time analytical data on how fast you run with pads on in game situations. And yet they want to see you in your draws running 40 yards straight ahead and that's going to determine how. And it's
Yeah,
like
without some madman chasing you.
Yeah.
You didn't have to jump out the top bedroom door, a window, or anything.
Yeah, coaching. It's so asinine. It makes
drawers.
no sense at all. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So with what you just said, then I would say we got to get rid of the 40 altogether.
No, there are some agents
Well,
who are refusing. Who did this? I believe it was Trey Lance's agent did it one year. And there are more and more quarterbacks who they're like, I'm not even running for you. Like Lamar Jackson. Did Lamar Jackson run the 40 to combine? I don't think he ran it. Because some guys are like, no, I'm not running at all. You guys know how fast I am. Yep. And they basically will submit to the scouts like, hey, in games, this is what he's been tracked at by independent sources. He's been tracked at this as a ball carrier, running 21.7 miles per hour. Like Isaiah Bond been tracked. What was he clocked at 22 something miles per hour? He's still got to go there and run the 40. But the 40 really, it is becoming more and more, in my opinion, more and more of a show and less translatable to actual football. And we got technology now that says it doesn't necessarily translate to football success. And we still don't care because the NFL, it's a show. Now it's a prime time, baby. This is a 4-day TV event. Y'all better care about this 40 because otherwise, what's everybody going to watch for? You're watching for the 40. That's the prime time event. So the NFL's got to keep it relevant, even though it's more and more irrelevant from NFL minds.
I do like the quarterbacks throwing deep balls because y'all know me, man. Our quarterback that we had wasn't great with the deep ball, and it just irked me so bad, right? So I like to see quarterbacks throwing a deep ball. I like to see the tight ends running short routes and making catches with their hands, So I like that little stuff like that. And another thing, the 40, if some people were on the fence about Xavier Worthy and when he ran that 40 last year, that probably got him over the fence,
Yeah.
And it probably got him a little extra money in his pocket as well. So there's a little bit of element right there, but it's not translatable. It's just not. It's for show, and it makes the GMs say that I drafted the 4-2 guy,
Yeah. No, it definitely helped their improve their draft stock. So I'm not disagreeing with that. But we saw Xavier Worthy could play at Texas. It wasn't like he was his scrub and then ran, the fastest 40 time. He was like, damn, we got to check and see if the film matches the 40. No, he showed he was clocked as the fastest man in college football in pads at Texas. You know what I mean? Like, so he already proved he could play. The 40 just kind of confirmed the world-class speed to me. So listen, I know you can improve your draft stock from it. I'm just saying it doesn't always necessarily translate, like Stevie said, to NFL success. Stevie, let me ask you about the spring game. Give me your thoughts. No spring game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know it's a shockwave to people when he said that there's no spring game, but let's think about this, man. These football players got on campus in mid-August, right? There are no other kids on campus. It's just the football team and the coaches, a bunch of dudes looking at each other, right? You know how that is, Rod. And then, anybody that walk by look good because you just see dudes all day. you got 2 of their goggles, man. These kids were on campus before everyone else got on campus. And then everyone got on campus. We go through the school year. Then we get to the playoffs. These kids are still on campus. Everyone else got to go home and do Thanksgiving and do Christmas with their families. These kids have been on campus since mid-August all the way to mid-January. They hit with no break. And then we're going to ask them for 2 months later, two months later to get back on the field and do this all over again and go put on a show for the people, which is a glorified practice anyway, So giving these kids a little bit of a break, I'm all for it, man. It was a knee-jerk reaction, but when you really need to think about is these guys been on the field for a long time and they're doing it right back again. And then after spring ball, they go right into spring training and then summer training, and you're right back at it again. Something's got to give with these schedules and player safety and player health. You know, so this is, I think, a small step to trying to help these kids stay safe, but also stay healthy on the field. So I'm okay with it. I like it.
You don't mind it?
I'm with you as well. I mean, again, it's a quick turnaround for a team that just played 16 games. And we talked about it last week. You know, Clemson starts up this week. And they were just playing almost as long as Texas was. So They played 14 games. They're back on the football field right now. I know it's a different team. Some players are off to the NFL. But for the guys that are returning, I don't know when you ever get the opportunity to just kick your feet back and enjoy college, because that's that's a big part of it right now. So, I'm really interested to see what we're able to take away from the spring when it comes to player development. Who's taking the step? You know, can we rely on X, Y, or Z to take a leap for one of these 14 guys that are departing to the NFL? Do you think you'll see enough of that in the spring without true pads popping or anything like that, Stevie? Is there enough of what you could get out of when it comes to just an OTA level practice?
Yeah, and that part right there is the coaching choices that Sarkis is going to have to make. Obviously, we're going to have a new pass game coordinator, and so we got to implement this spring is going to be implement, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have to get the pads popping because we got to install defense, right? We got to install the offense for a new quarterback, things like that. So I don't think that actually being too physical this spring is what we need to focus on. Now, we also don't want to lose our tackling abilities on defense. Going through walkthroughs a lot, you lose your tackling skills. So we still want our guys to tackle when it comes to the fall. But I don't get $4 million a year to try to figure that out, So they do, well, not four, but they get a lot of money to try to figure this out to keep the guys game ready but healthy and implement the new offense and the new defense. And we have in August we got 7-8 months to do that, and they have to figure that out. If I can figure it out, I'll have a job over there,
Hey, Stevie, some people are already advocating you need a job over there, man. All right, Stevie, thank you. We appreciate the job you do with us each and every Monday, courtesy of Hardgrove Roofing. We won't take too much of your time, but we appreciate your time. Thanks, Stevie. And tell the family.
No problem, guys. Hook them, and hopefully we get some good coaches in here. I think that he's going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. That's why I made the bet. I think that Sark can recruit players and coaches we got a great culture, and I think people are moving on for bigger deals, but the culture here, people also want to be in it. So he's going to find the right coaches. No worries, y'all. We'll be fine.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, guys.
Stevie Lee. Appreciate you, Stevie.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Stevie.
Lifetime logo and Stevie Lee, courtesy of Hardgrove Roofing. Hardgrove Roofing offices all over Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas, including Austin, Texas, of course. They'll take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're extra Longhorn friendly. They love Longhorn Nation, so show them some love. Reach out to them at hardgroveroofing.com or give them a call at 512-645-3202. And right now, they're offering a free roof inspection. So if you got any issues with their roof, leave it to professionals. Our friends are at hardgroveroofing.com. Know who's on your roof with Hardgrove Roofing. All right. Thank you to Stevie Lee for coming on. We appreciate it. Yes, we'll get back to the big topic of conversation. Texas losing another assistant coach, Terry Joseph, heading to the NFL. Let's hit a couple of questions here, or comments here on the other side. How about this one from John? He says, Joseph gone. Ideas on new DB coach. Let's swing big. Corey Raymond. Ooh, man, that's a name. Yeah, Corey Raymond, a big splash right there. Fran Brown, she said maybe B. Mitchell, since trying to get in that area of recruiting. We talked about this earlier, right, guys? I mean, Sark could swing big. I mean, listen, because now I don't know I got to go back and look at what Terry Joseph was probably scheduled to make with the new finalized coaching staff. He's going to be the pass game coordinator. I'm assuming that was a bit of a bump when he got extended there. So, Texas has the resources. There's no doubt about that. Sark's more concerned with compatibility, it would seem. Right, guys? So if you had to make a big splash, let's say you could make a big splash. Let's say Sark's going to go big splash here. Who y'all's big splash hire? Who's the big splash hire if you're going to make a big splash? Because for me, I'm just stuck on Coach Akina because that's my guy. All right, that's my big splash too. I'm like, that's a big splash. He's one of the best DB coaches of all time. It's a big splash coming back home. But you know what? That seems too easy. Who's the big splash for you guys?
I think one name that I mentioned when the job, or I guess when Coach Gideon announced that he was going to Georgia Tech, the first name that really kind of came to mind was Jimmy Lake. And I know that he's kind of bounced around. He was obviously the former coordinator, or he was a former assistant under PK at Washington, made the jump to head coach in waiting, made the coach again. Yeah, Champ Bailey. Nick Saban, he finally buy that house down in Austin he's been waiting for. So, but I had Jimmy Lake as the first guy that was just like, okay, this makes all the sense in the world. He's coached with PK. He knows the system in and out. I don't think he's doing a whole lot right now. I don't know, but coaching in the NFL for a year or two, I don't know if there's a connection there still in terms of Sarkisian and him. But look, I like the name that's been thrown out every now and then, Torian Gray out of South Carolina. That's a guy that he's got a really nice history of development. South Carolina, again, they've put out some big-time names into the NFL recently, especially at safety. So could that be a possibility? It certainly fits the recruiting territory that we see Sarkisian want to target, but I don't know. And Cisco, I see Gary Patterson. I've seen him thrown out a lot. I've reached out to a couple people, I guess, about 2 weeks ago when we went through this first time. They're like, Gary P's pretty happy traveling around, playing in his band. He's not doing a whole lot right now. Not looking for a whole lot right now. So I don't think Gary Patterson a viable option right now.
Yep. I brought him up last time too. I was like, hey, thank you, CB. I don't know if I'd be that big of a splash. That'd be more of a little trickle.
Now, Stevie, that would be a big splash.
That'd be, but no, I like the GP thing. I don't know, Coach, what Gary Patterson is doing. I think Gary Patterson would be awesome, but I don't know if Gary Patterson wants to coach anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, that would be splash for sure. I'm with you with Akina. Fran Brown be a great hire. I mean, I don't know, man. There's a lot of good ones out there. But yes, there you go, Stevie. Splash.
Cannonball.
I personally, I would like to see a seasoned veteran in there, like we were talking about earlier. Whoever fits that bill could, in terms of all the other requirements that Sark wants out of this guy. I just think you need an old seasoned guy in there. And that would be a big name. That would be a splash hire, because any older veteran coach that we would hire would probably be a splash guy. We're not going to hire a 50-year-old guy that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah,
it'd have to be a splash hire. And I don't care about the splash. I just always tried to have just a good representation of individuals on my coaching staff, because and even in terms of the way that you teach, you have to understand when you're teaching that there's several different types of learners out there. There's auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, visual learners. I mean, what gets to one guy may not get to somebody else. And so you need somebody that knows that, is a seasoned veteran, that knows how to reach all the guys, that figures out what turns their crank and what gets them where they want to be. And so that would be my suggestion. Who that is, I don't know for sure, other than Akina.
It's interesting though that and this is what happens. I mean, CB's right. Great teams lose coaches. It's a result of being great, no doubt. It really is. It's a healthy. This is a kind of a healthy process that Texas is going through right now, of being able to develop not only players but develop coaches. Like that's a thing too, right? That's why you have a coaching tree. You develop coaches. But it's interesting. You're at the secondary that was, I ranked outside the top 100 in pass defense in 2023. They have, in my opinion, the greatest turnaround in college foot in the last 25 years in college football for a pass defense from year to year. They finished this past season as the number 1 pass defense after being ranked outside the top 100. That has never happened in the last 25 years. And
maybe that's you. Maybe you said, maybe you were talking about Gideon saying, "Hey, man, it ain't gonna get no better than this."
Exactly. Hey, Coach, that's exactly where I was going to go, Coach. I totally agree. I think it's like, you know what? Because then now the nickel coach, the guy that was working with Nichols, Coach Hazleton, didn't he get a gig too? Now he was kind of working as an analyst, staff, but so everybody basically was working in that secondary.
Look, it's one of those things. Like I look again. We talked about it. It's coaching jobs are kind of like stocks. Like you want to make that next jump and you want to get more valuable. Look, you got to do it when you're selling high, and that's exactly what it is. The only way you ever go broke is when you get fired, and well, you sell high after having an elite year like this. And now, hey, if you're Terry Joseph, you can spend not only recruiting but developing Kyle Hamilton into what he was, but also Jahdae Barron, who you developed into what a round 3, round 4 pick into the Thorpe Award and potentially your first guy off the board this year.
Yeah,
I'd say that works pretty well if you're looking to make the jump into a new gig.
Totally agree. I just think that it's smart. It's just smart. We criticize some coaches like, man, you should have cashed in that lottery ticket when you got it. Right now, all those guys, their secondary is being talked about everywhere, and even at the job they did on Jeremiah Smith. Talking about that too. Hey, good for them. Good for those guys. They did a damn good job with the secondary. It'll be interesting to see now, because one of the things I've noticed though, and I just said, just the trend of the coaches that have been hired in that secondary or promoted, because Kenoto Hudson was already with them. But I went back and looked at Mark Orfe and his resume, just looking at the techniques that these guys have been teaching, mostly, Coach. So what coverages that obviously they played mostly at where he was at, and there at Rutgers, and you end up looking at the coverages. A lot of these guys, and I went back and looked at it, top 25 rate of man coverage the last 2 years. And Mark Orfe, so he was teaching a lot of man coverage there at Rutgers, like that. They play a lot of press man coverage. And then I went and looked at Kenoto Hudson's resume. And turns out Kenoto Hudson, in some of you go look at some of the places he was at, Ole Miss and Western Kentucky, and going back to Illinois and FAU. I went back and looked at all those spots. At Ole Miss, they were top 75 percentile in playing cover 1 and playing 2-man. Western Kentucky, you go look at Morris Crum, who's the DC there. I went back and looked at his tendencies as a DC. He's calling a lot of 2-man, calling a lot of cover 0, a lot of cover 1. So, like I said, I still think Texas is going toward playing a lot of more man coverage. The 2 hires that he's made, I will say that is one of the connections, is that both of them have taught, in terms of technique, they have taught a lot of man coverage technique in recent years in their stops before they got to Texas. I don't know if that's going to be the case for your pass game coordinator and safeties coach, but definitely has been the case for your cornerbacks coach, Mark Orfe now, and your nickels coach, Kenoto Hudson.
CJ, could this be an opportunity for Texas to go hire a safety coach? And the coach we hired, put him at corners? I mean, is it, in your opinion?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I think this is Sarkisian's in the market for a safeties coach specifically, with Mark Orfe being hired to coach the corners. That was the jump that Terry Joseph was going to make, was from corners to coach safeties, and he was going to get the title of pass game coordinator as well on the defensive side of the ball. So he was going to get everything, I guess, but more so specifically as a safeties guy specifically, which is where he actually had a lot of history from previously. So unfortunate, you don't get to see him work with this room, because we've talked about the safety room having a lot of toys there. Mm-hmm. But, again, whoever comes in is going to be hired as the new safeties coach. Rod, coach, what's going to be interesting is, does Sarkisian immediately throw a pass game coordinator tag on that new hire, or say, hey, you, Mark Orfe, Coach Hudson, we'll save this title for when I got to retain you guys in the next year or two. That'll be an interesting choice for Sark there.
I remember my man Jeff Howe brought this up, and it was interesting. And now I guess it's worth revisiting. Johnny Nansen, could Johnny Nansen be your pass game coordinator and you just hire a safeties coach and then give him the PGC title? He's already a co-DC now, so you can just give him the PGC instead of the co-DC. He could, because he did bring in a lot. There was, and go back and watch Football Theory, because Jeff and I talk about this. But since Johnny Nansen has come on board, this is the first year where you played more single high looks than two high looks. That was brought in from Johnny Nansen's Arizona days, because Arizona, nobody in the country played more single high than that Arizona team in 2023. And I think Johnny Nansen came in and kind of influenced PK that way. Also, the exotic looks, right? We talked about the NASCAR package and the big nickel package, and they play dime now. And now I'm using three safeties. I mean, they throw a lot of new exotic looks, and that's not really PK's MO. But PK this is what makes PK so great. He's so flexible. It's hard to really gather what his MO is, because he's changed actually damn near every year he's been at Texas. The defense has evolved. So I could see, because Johnny Nansen has a very extensive and, in my opinion, like view of coverages, extensive knowledge of coverages, just because he's coached on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And he's coached multiple different positions. Maybe he could be your pass game coordinator. So my man Jeff Hall brought that up, and I've been thinking about it ever since. If you want to get an inexperienced safeties coach and you just like a young up-and-coming guy, and maybe they don't have the veteran experience that coach talked about, maybe Nansen can be that veteran presence back there.
Have you seen an inside linebackers coach have that title?
No, I don't know.
I don't mean this to say that it can't happen, because, Rod, I think a lot of what he did at Arizona actually fits what Texas did a year ago, right? So that'll be interesting, because he would have theoretically just become a 7-on-7 coach in the back end, right? He'd have the linebackers and then, the usage of the safeties and corners. I mean, look, he brought a lot of good ideas with him. We saw obviously a lot of implementation of that this past year, and it worked out for Texas, hence why we're having to replace everybody right now. So I like that, but that's a rabbit hole I'll have to dive down just a little bit, because I don't think that's been a common theme for the most part.
No, I've seen.
I'm getting old. Was Nansen at Arizona with Akina? Were they there at the same time?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep. Johnny Nansen has been a DB coach before, and he's coached DBs, D line, and linebackers. Like, he's one of those, right? That's why I love him.
He's the man.
He's been all over the damn place. And I remember Muschamp has coached like safeties before and linebackers. So guys have coached like multiple levels of defense. But CJ, to your point, I'm not sure if they've been a linebackers coach and a pass game coordinator. That is usually a DB coach. So I don't know if I've ever seen that. I'm sure somebody has done it somewhere. But it's definitely not something common, to your point. There's no way. It's not common. It's freaky.
If there's a guy that can do it, I think Johnny Nansen would be that guy after what he's shown at Arizona and now.
Yep. All right. Let's get to a good conversation. Let's get to a couple of questions here. CJ, this is from Shivim. He says, CJ, which player that's not a Longhorn are you excited to see live at the NFL Combine? Oh, that is interesting, actually. Because we're going to talk about Longhorns at the Combine here in a second.
Yeah, no. Look, having gone down to Mobile for the Senior Bowl, there were two names that really stood out to me as guys that I was just like, whoa, okay. Like, they've made a lot of money coming out here. The first was Jack Beck, the wide receiver from TCU, who I actually don't believe will be doing on-field drills, or maybe I'm getting mixed up. I loved what I saw from Jack Beck at TCU. He transferred from LSU. He was tremendous. I'm really, really excited to see what he can do again after seeing him in Mobile. And then the other guy that stood out immediately was Elijah Arroyo, the tight end from Miami. Look, he was dominant. He was unguardable one-on-one. He's the one I don't think will actually be doing any type of drills, which is unfortunate. But Texas Chick 01, I mean, shoot. How could I not be excited, right? See the Heisman. Yeah. I'll see Travis Hunter. I'm excited for him. I'm also really excited to I want to see what kind of if there's difference in smooth levels from McMillan from Arizona, the wide receiver, and Luther Bird, because those are always the three guys that you hear about atop of wide receiver boards, obviously with an asterisk by Travis Hunter. But what kind of levels is it if there's a big difference from the two of them and a Matthew Golden or a Jack Beck. Wide receivers are so unique in that sense that you just get to watch them run the same route over and over and over and over, but you see the smoothness translate from guy to guy. I'm really eager to see what the 2 and 3 or 4 of them all look like running consecutively. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Nah, I would love to see Tatori McMillan in person because he looks like kind of like a Mike Evans receiver, but he may be a little bit more fluid in terms of his movement.
If there's one other guy I can throw out, Nick Nash, wide receiver from San Jose State. Holy cow. If y'all aren't familiar with this guy, he was my favorite guy to watch. They'd play Friday or like late Saturday night, right? They'd either go out to Hawaii or they'd play out on the coast somewhere. Like they'd have 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. kicks. Awesome. I was like, all right, I've had a couple cold ones. Let's watch some football and gamble irresponsibly on the Spartans real quick. Nick Nash, unbelievable. Matthew, I don't know if you can pull up his season stats this past year, but he's a fifth-year player. He came to San Jose State as a quarterback. So he spent 3 years as a backup quarterback, and finally, like game 10 or something like that in 2023, they're like, you know what? Go play wide receiver. Like, we're done with it. We're done with this quarterback experiment. Go play wide receiver. And he went for like 200 yards in the final 3 games as a wide receiver, lit it up last year. And then this year, I mean, look at that. 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns. This guy was scoring a touchdown per game. He was unbelievable. They'd also throwing the ball about 18 times a game. You see 104 receptions. So I loved watching him. I don't know what kind of draft profile he will be at the next level, but you see there 6 years in college, first 3 years, I think he was a quarterback all the way through. But that's one of my big draft. I don't know if I can call him a sleeper or not because he was a Biletnikoff finalist, but I can't wait to see him in person.
Just don't give the ball on the reverse. Austin.
That's right. Thank you, Matthew. His game-to-game stats were awesome.
Yeah, that's legit. That's pretty good.
Wow.
I didn't know. I didn't realize that. So basically, he's been playing receiver at the college level. He played 2 years. That was it, or just
2 years? Yep.
Wow. Damn. Okay.
I think it was that the Sacramento State game, that week 1, where I was just like, oh, football's back. I'm watching it. It was a Thursday night. That's exactly what it was.
Love it.
They were just targeting him every play. It was great.
Yeah. That's okay. I got to go back and watch some film on him now. The combine's coming up. All right, we'll talk Longhorns at the NFL Combine. First, let me tell you about our friends over at South Point Dodge first. Texas football fans, this is a time for you to score an easy extra point when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and even 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. So score big today, and scoring big right now is a great time to do it. They have a great deal happening with over 50 Ram 2500s, all marked down with huge savings over at South Point Dodge. Now, you can go see their inventory online at southpointdodge.com, or you can go in person and go check out their exclusive inventory there off of I-35 in South Austin at South Point Dodge. Austin's automotive everything, southpointdodge.com. So whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. And also with trade-ins, you'll get the best value with our friends over at South Point Dodge. So whatever your automotive needs, check out southpointdodge.com. And we appreciate them for being a sponsor of the Winning Drive. All right, let's get to some of the questions. Oh, we got a super chat here from Splenda Daddy, formerly Sugar Daddy. What's Gary Patterson doing? We don't know. Listen, I actually have a way to try to reach out to Gary Patterson, or at least to see what he's doing, and I will try to do that because I thought he was going to get back into coaching. Wouldn't he recently coach at Baylor or something?
For a little bit.
Like an analyst there, and something obviously it didn't work out. So he's still got a little inkling the coach. Now, it ain't like he just is totally done with it. Man, I would reach out to GP. GP's got Texas ties, Longhorn ties, of course, right? Through his wife and everything. I'd see what he's doing. I'd make him tell me no about the pass game coordinator thing.
It's a guy that knows how to coordinate and develop.
I mean, he helped fix your defense. Remember in when he came in 2022, he gave you some cliff notes on the Big 12. That's a dream hire now. I mean, Patterson will coach your secondary. I mean, that's a I don't know if you could do better than that. I mean, Nick Saban. If Nick Saban wanted to coach your secondary, I guess you could do better. But honestly, other than Dwayne Akina, Nick Saban, can we do better than Gary Patterson coaching the secondary?
No. No.
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer, guys. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
That's a dream title right there. Consultant? Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, like I said, so I don't know what he's doing. I don't think anybody knows for sure. Like I said, CJ did some research, and CJ, you said that people you talk to, they don't seem to think he wants anything to do with coaching.
Right? I think he's happy.
I'm happy he's happy, but I wish I'm happy.
Happy and burn orange.
I wish he. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. For like a season, you ain't gotta. I would say, GP, all I need is one season from you, bro. Give me one season. You can go back and do it. We'll overpay you. We will overpay you for one season, right? How coach? We'll overpay you for one season, and I think he would do it. Make him an offer he can't refuse. Say, I will overpay you for one season. What's the highest paid assistant coach in the country? Do we know who he is? We got to figure out who that is.
I was paying.
That's not a coordinator. Not a coordinator. I'm talking about just a
actually, I don't know. I was paying their safety coach 1.9, I think.
Damn, he's not a coordinator. He's just a safety coach?
I'd have to check. I'm not sure, but I was looking at it earlier. Just kind of Googling the best safety coaches in the country. Doing my due diligence on the position.
Okay,
I was like,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if CD asked CDC about that one. I don't know. You got to slap another title on him. He's gonna get 1.something million. You got to be.
There you go, Rob.
Yeah, Coco. Dream safety hire would be Kirby Smart. Well, yeah. You ain't gonna get Kirby. I'm talking people that are realistic. Kirby Smart ain't leaving. That would be the dream. You're right. Nick Saban ain't realistic either, but we talking about.
That's about as realistic as Tom Landry.
Yeah,
he's an ex. Let's hire him.
Yeah, you know what?
He's dead. That's about as good a chance as we've got as some of those guys you're talking about.
Yeah, you see, we might as well talk about Dion. I want Dion to coach my secondary. Hey, Dion, you want to come coach my secondary? We might, if we go into just dream hires without any realistic expectations at all. But yeah, there you go. So dream Gary. I don't know what Gary Patterson is doing. Spread it, Daddy. We will try to find that out. I will try to find it out. I'll do my best. Ted Parry says Muschamp would work too. Yeah, Muschamp is like an analyst too, right? He's not even a position coach. Isn't he like an analyst with George? I don't think he's coaching a position. Maybe he's coaching one now. He's done some.
I don't know. I don't know if them DBs are tough enough to take him.
Fair point.
I'm serious. I mean,
Coach, how hard nosed was Muschamp, Coach?
Oh, you know how hard a coach he was. But you're talking about energy now, and you're talking about
you got it.
A guy that's as competitive as anybody I've ever seen. Yeah.
Nope. I remember Muschamp. I remember him well. I got a chance to interview Muschamp a couple of times, and he's intense. That's an intense dude. Like he's the kind of dude where he went on family vacations with his family. He wasn't having a good time. He's ready to get back to the ball. He's one of them kind of dudes. Gap control. Yeah. Did you ever see that video of him punching the dry erase board to do their job?
Oh yeah.
He's a defensive analyst for Georgia right now. He was their co-DC and safeties coach in 2022 and 2023. He's an analyst for him, which most people believe that he has a son that plays, I think, college ball or something.
Yeah.
And so I think he's decided that he wants to see his son play, and then he's going to get back to kind of full-time coaching after his son plays or something like that. So we don't consider their family obligations for a lot of these guys too. And that really can determine whether they want to take some of these big time jobs or not. D Lime says, how about Huff? I know just because you play doesn't mean you can, but he has been around the program a good while, kind of coaching already. Huff probably doesn't want to recruit though. Ain't no probably about it. He definitely don't want to. Well, now on the road, he wants to recruit. If you come to him, he'll show you his Lamborghini, but he ain't going on the road to recruit. So that is that. So I think we talked about that too. Whether he was that when he tweeted out like I don't know, it was some random gift that he tweeted out, and we talked about maybe he was hinting at something. I don't think Huff Dad's coaching. Huff Dad was messing with us. I love him for that. Todd says, would love Al Harris if he listened. Yeah, they caught Al Harris like at the wrong time. Remember, we talked about this when they were looking for a replacement for Blake Gideon. He recently got a promotion. He's a pass game coordinator. Is it Chicago? I believe it's somebody just got. He's a pass.
Bears just poached him.
Yeah, the Bears just got him. That I like that one though. I do like that that Al Harris suggestion, but that's one of those guys that put him on the dream hire list.
Speaking of Huff Daddy, we were talking. You and I are probably the only ones that call him Huff Daddy.
Yeah, gotta stop that, I guess.
But, Director of High School Relations. We were kind of talking about that that player development job, and I see that went to Jamal Finner, who was the Director of High School Relations. It is both now. He'll do Director of High School Relations as well as the Director of Player Development. So, kind of I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, no, it's an important gig. I mean, it really is an important. There's no doubt about it. And Texas has done a great job in keeping that that connective tissue with the high school coaches, and it's paid off for them. All right, let's talk about the NFL Combine, gentlemen. We got 14 players at the NFL Combine for the Longhorns. CJ, you're going to be boots on the ground there. Who do we think has the chance to improve their draft stock the most? Who's got the most to gain and the most to lose? I guess it's got kind of what I'll throw out there at this NFL Combine for the Longhorns with 14 players.
Oddly, I think that same name could go for both. I think it could be Quinn Ewers. And again, it kind of just depends on where you view him as a prospect right now going into Indianapolis. He's going to be a guy that throws the ball very well in this situation. He could gain a lot there. But he's also a guy where I think if you sit back and you truly just watch the tape and see where you want those throws to be versus the play on the field, I don't know if it's going to line up with what, again, that ceiling might be for Quinn. So I'm excited to see him against these other quarterbacks because, again, having gone to Mobile, having seen these guys at the Senior Bowl, Quinn would have been far and away the best quarterback there. Would that translate to, or we know it's going to translate to these open practices, throwing in short situations? What more can he do to elevate? I think that comes behind the scenes in the interviews, sitting on the board, watching him draw up plays, etc. On the flip side, look, I think Jaden Blue can help himself with the 40. I think Isaiah Bond can kind of save his draft stock with the 40 as well. Some of those guys, I'm really eager. And Rod, I wanted to pose this question to both of y'all, because last year I put up an article on Texas football that was basically just the 11 guys going to the Combine and the one specific drill I'm really eager to see them perform in.
That's good.
This year, I'm going to do the same thing when I'm on the flight up to Indianapolis tomorrow. So I'm kind of brainstorming. I think the one that I have drawn up for me right now is the gauntlet. Running backs, receivers, they run through the gauntlet. Exactly. DBs. But the gauntlet for Jaden Blue. I think it's going to be what I look at and say, okay, because we know what he can do with the ball in space. Texas tried to get him the ball in space plenty of times, but at times, look, drops were an issue. Fumbles were an issue. If you can go out there and show again that, hey, the hands that you showed as a high schooler in 7-on-7 weren't just a fluky, sticky pair of gloves that you got, that's going to rise his draft stock tremendously.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. Is there anything or any drills at the Combine specifically that you could think of that for whoever the kid might be that you're just going to be like, hey, if whenever they're going through that drill, whenever that position group is going through the 5-10-5s or whatnot, that player from Texas specifically, I'm going to be watching. Anything like that. Because that gauntlet for Blue is going to be one for me that I'm like, all right, wherever I'm at, when he's running the gauntlet, I got to see it.
Yep. That is really good. And they time that now too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They time the gauntlet now too and compare the times. And they want to see how fast you can go through and concentrate at the same time. That is great about Jaden Blue. And if Jaden Blue does show out in that regard, and I think we all believe he's going to run a fast 40, right? Mm-hmm. And shows off really, really, sure hands as well. They're going to go back to the film. And the thing that helps Jaden Blue is he had good games in some big games. He had big plays in big games, right? We're talking about Ohio State. You're talking about that first Georgia game. He scored. A&M made big plays. Clemson. He's against some really elite competition, which obviously NFL guys on the other side. So that's a great one. I mean, I love that article idea, CJ. That's a money article. Let me think about that. I think for a D lineman like Alfred Collins and Vernon Bryan, I don't know exactly what the drill is. I go back and look at all the drills they do with all those guys. But I do know those guys being able to show, especially Alfred Collins, being able to show that he's got some hip bend and that he can, rush the passer, the BGO. That's going to be important for him because right now the scouting report is he's a really good run stuffer. He's a really good run stopper. I think if he can show some freakish athleticism, so maybe in his 5'10" 5, we're talking about Stevie Lee with that. Maybe he's a guy that shows a big man if he can change direction, which I think he actually does really well. But for him, it's showing that he has some of the traits that they can develop into being a pass rusher. Because that's, I think, what they're doubting about Alfred Collins, that I think he's just a guy that can help us on early downs. I don't know if he can help us on pass rushing downs. I think if he can show them that he's got that, that flexibility, that hip bend, the guy that can actually, be an elite pass rusher or at least be a serviceable pass rusher at the NFL level, they'll increase his stock too. Because the D-line coaches, they say this might be the deepest D-line draft in like 40 years.
That's crazy.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're saying it's that deep. So it's just that's just bad for Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton because they got a lot of D linemen. In fact, they got like 20 more, I think, D linemen invited to this combine than the last combine.
Did either one of them have a year of eligibility left?
No, they were cooked.
They could, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing that's going to be a little bit interesting that I'm curious about. I don't know. It could hurt him and it could help him as Gunnar Helms with his bench press reps. Yeah. What is it? 225 pounds, Rod?
Yeah, they do. 225. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
I think that's a potential knock on him in the NFL. Is he going to be able to handle, the blocking, at that level? And I think the bench press with him is I'm just kind of curious and interested to see really what kind of strength he has, because honestly, I have no idea.
That's a great point, Coach, because, again, that conversation came up last year after the pro day where it was Jatavian Sanders at the Texas pro day, and I think, Rod, it was 8, maybe
it wasn't
6.
It was really poor.
Hurt him.
Yeah,
it dropped him, and it was, I don't know, I can only speak for myself, but I mean, I sat there, I watched, and I said, okay, is he hurt? Because the way that he kind of handled himself afterward, I was like, okay, his day's got to be over, right? He's certainly not well if that's the performance in front of 105 scouts or whatever it was, 3 head coaches, GMs. And then sure enough, I was like, oh, and then so the fall that we saw as a result in the draft, I believe, was in large part because of the pro day performance. Yeah. So, Coach, I'm going to write it down right now. I'll give you credit in the article tomorrow.
Bam. No, you want people to read it, so don't leave that out.
No, it's to that point, though. This is why it's an interesting conversation about the combine, because JT Sanders, really impactful, productive player at Texas, was just a 5-star athlete coming in, had to develop into being a tight end and learning how to play the tight end position, and ends up, having a lackluster workouts for the offseason workouts for the combine or pre-draft workouts, because he just didn't have some of those really elite traits, elite speed. And you talk about the bench press and the strength, and then he gets drafted into the Carolina Panthers. And I remember saying when he got drafted, he'll end up starting for them at one point. I just don't know when he'll start, but he'll start, his rookie year at one point. And he did. I think he started, I don't know, like 7, 8 games, started like half the games, if not more, for the Carolina Panthers. So there is a disconnect. This combine doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you as a football player. This is about whether you can prepare for the combine and these specific workouts. And a lot of them are to identify elite traits, change of direction, like CJ mentioned, the gauntlet. They're just trying to identify data points. This guy's good at this. This guy's got this. This guy's got that. And so it's less football, but it's important in evaluation. But that's why these guys take a whole month or 6 weeks just to prepare specifically for the combine. Like, that's all they do. They don't do any football stuff. Those guys doing the gauntlet. That's Jaden Blue, to CJ's point, he's doing the gauntlet drill like 15 times a day, like 20 times a day. And breaking it down. Like, all right, now we're going to do just the first part of it, like every part of it, so that if he goes through it, if that's the one that scouts are paying attention to, that'll increase his draft stock. Because what are scouts worried about with Jaden Blue? Well, we already know. Ball security and hands. Boom. Ball security and hands.
Hey, off the cuff question: do they use quarterbacks or do they use a machine?
Quarterbacks.
They used to use quarterbacks when I was their coach, but I don't know what they use now. That's a great question. But CJ, what do they use now? I don't know.
They typically, for the gauntlet, they use quarterbacks or at least a live arm. So it could be coaches depending on the day in which they perform. So there is the the possible human error aspect of it as well, where a ball's behind, the ball's not necessarily in the catchable zone that you want it to be in. So you could get a little screwed in that regard, but for the most part, everything is thrown by a quarterback at the combine.
And they want that though. They want to see if you can adjust real time.
Yeah.
Can you adjust the human error? All that kind of stuff. Trust me, it's all on display there. All right, that's good. I want to ask you also about Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond's one of those guys. If he we just talked about the 40 and how he can improve your draft stock. Not saying in terms of his translation to being able to be a productive NFL player, but there's no doubt if Isaiah Bond goes out there and runs, low 4.3, high 4.2. Oh yeah, there's a guy he'll definitely solidify his stock as a second round wide receiver. He may already be there for some people, and he can sneak up potentially into the first round. This is not a very deep wide. I'm really strong. This is deep. Wide receiver is the deepest position in football. It's not a very strong wide receiver draft at the top. Like it's not one.
No, it's not. It's really not. So I was going to say the same thing, Rod. We talked about it earlier. I don't know where Travis Hunter is expected to play at the next level, whether it's corner or wide receiver. But outside of that, you got two guys right there with Tataroya McMillan, and you got Luther Burden. Outside of that, you got a full drop, and that's where you start coming across the Jack Becks. You come across Matthew Golden. If he runs in that 4.28 to 4.32 range, he's a top 45 pick. Talking about Isaiah Bond, so that's definitely a guy that could come out and make some money. However, on the flip side, if that 40 isn't what we expect, and it could be a slippery slope. That's the risk you run.
I agree. That's a good point. If he runs a slow time. If he runs a 4.4, oh man.
Yeah, exactly. Which is slow for him, but faster.
I was like, that's what I ran. I'm mocking him like it's slow. Like that's what I ran. That was me peaking at my right time. We got a low 4.4 there. All right, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek before we get close to the end of the winning drive here. Thank you to Flat Creek for being a sponsor of On Texas Football and being a part of our team here. Flat Creek Estate Winery, folks, just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award for their vintage wine, Super Texan, and it is fantastic, folks. I'm a huge fan of Super Texan. So is my wife and my mother-in-law, my mom. We actually got a chance to enjoy it over the holidays, and they love it. We had some Super Texan this past weekend. You can find it at your local Specs. Trust me, once you try it, you'll understand what all the fuss is about and why it's such an award-winning blend. Also, my friends at Flat Creek Estate Winery not only produce some of the best premium wines out there, like Super Texan, but they also are a gorgeous venue that have barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It's perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, and we appreciate them for being a sponsor of the winning drive and being a part of the On Texas football family. All right, guys, we've been talking a lot about, of course, the new coaching vacancy, another coaching vacancy, I should say, on the 40 acres. Terry Joseph moving on. Congratulations to him. Moving on to become the secondary coach with the New Orleans Saints. So he's moving up to the NFL level. And now what was a finalized coaching staff for the Longhorns looks to add another hire, a pass game coordinator or safeties coach or secondary coach. Not sure exactly where Sark is going to go here, but guys, just to kind of the last footnote here on this conversation, another name to keep an eye on, Maurice Linguist. He's an Alabama DB, and I think he's a Alabama DB coach and right now a co-DC. Yeah, I think he's a co-DC and cornerbacks coach with them. Dallas Cowboys on his resume. No, Sark likes NFL guys, or at least guys with an NFL background of some kind. Deep Texas ties. Born in Dallas, played at Baylor, was also on the staff at A&M at one time, 18, 19. So that's another name to throw out there.
I like it.
What about CJ? We talked about him a little bit the last opening, I had a guy that I was on the defensive staff with at the University of Texas, Ephraim Banda.
Oh, I like that.
Ephraim Banda. I never did call him by his first name. He wound up going with Manny Diaz. Hooked up with him, was his defensive coordinator at Miami. He's in the NFL now.
Okay.
But you had, I think it was you that had brought his name out. Maybe it was Jeff. I can't remember.
Jeff. It was Jeff. That was a good name. I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. He was kind of he's a very high energy guy. Really, the younger guy, the players really related to him well. He was an analyst, or GA or an analyst. He was a GA, I believe, for us with Manny. And then he wound up with Manny, I think, Louisiana Tech, and then all the stops he made. And he was his DC, I think, at Miami.
I want to say he was with the Browns most recently.
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
believe that.
He's safeties coach with them. That's a good one, Coach. I forgot about that. That's when Jeff brought that. I like that. He's got ties too, and he's got that. I think he believes it's an added bonus when you can get a guy with some NFL connection of some kind, whether you coach there or whether you play there. I like that connection too, because he's in the NFL right now coaching. All right. Of course, we will be discussing whatever breaks about the Texas latest coaching vacancy in the secondary. So keep it tuned right here to On Texas Football at ontexasfootball.com. If we missed any of your questions or comments, please direct them to the Coffee and Football crew tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We'll also have a Tuesday live stream with myself, E. Hogan will be on that one, and CJ Vogel. And CJ's going to be down at the Combine. So y'all want to make sure y'all got it tuned in, because CJ's going to have all other reports about the 14 Longhorns who will be represented at the Combine. So make sure you follow him via Twitter. Get the folks your Twitter handle, CJ, because he's worth a follow. He does great work, but especially this week when he's at the Combine.
Yeah, CJ Vogel _OTF. And I'll have everything covered at ontexasfootball.com as well. So come follow us over there. We'll get you covered on the 14 Longhorns at the Combine this weekend.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of news.
What's the start date and time?
So the on-field will start Wednesday. Wednesday. Thursday will be on-field. Wednesday will be the media interviews. So that's why it was a big deal for me to get out there Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's with all the Longhorns, right? You get a chance to talk to all the Longhorns and stuff. All right. So CJ will be there, all your Combine coverage, and of course, anything that has to do with the Texas latest coaching vacancy in the secondary, we'll have you covered there as well. So thank you to Matthew behind the scenes as always. Matthew is the real MVP. CJ, you are the man as well. Thank you for all of your expertise, Coach. We appreciate all the knowledge. We're wiser for it. Thank you guys for your participation. Thank you guys for the super chats as well. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to all the questions and the comments. And for Coach and for CJ and for Matthew behind the scenes. Thank you once again to our sponsors as well. Flat Creek, flatcreekstate.com, South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, and Hardgrove Roofing, hardgroveroofing.com. And thank you to my former teammate, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, for joining us as he does every Monday. For Coach, for CJ, for Matthew, I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Hook 'em horns.
Oh.